This is interview number 5, I think. Anyway, I have
So.
Andrew Scott here with me. Go ahead and say hello, my friend.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So usually I like to start off with a brief introduction. A lot of people that watch these videos don't really know who either of us are, so it's kind of fun to get to know you a little better.
Yeah, so I would say a little bit of hybrid between the online scene and the in-person scene. I think my strengths come from the in-person scene, so I'll highlight that first. My name is Andrew Scott. I have been playing Catan tournaments for quite a number of years now. Since I think my first tournament was in 2018. I met the Herman brothers, and actually kind of doxed Greg right from the beginning. I was like, "Hey, you're the guy. I looked this up. You're the guy who won that New York City tournament, didn't you?" And he literally got solo blocked the rest of the game. So it was a funny first meeting. And now we're really good friends. So I've been playing those tournaments since 2018. I found the game in college at some point, so like 2012, something like that, but didn't like play super seriously. And then started playing tournaments and got hooked. Got to the point where I got so hooked that I reached out to Eric Milligan, the guy who ran the New York tournaments, and said, "Hey, I want to start running some of these qualifiers in Jersey, where I am." He said, "I'm actually moving to Washington. How about you just take over?" I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So long story short, from there, I am now the owner and I run nykatan.com. NY Catan. We host some of the largest, if not the largest and most competitive qualifiers each year. We have multiple national finalists, national champions that have come out of it. And I love that aspect. We kind of rolled a little deep at the Nationals, got some NY Catan jerseys. This one is from Murphy. She's the one who made it. Murph. And yeah, so I've been going to nationals now this was my 5th nationals. Right after COVID. I qualified right before COVID, so right after COVID, I got to go. I have made 4 semifinals out of my 5 appearances. So I had 3 goals going into this past year. Make semis again, which would have been cool because then I have 80% appearance rate in semis over my nationals. Make a final table. Oh, and goal 1 is to win game 1 because winning game 1 sets the tone for everything.
It does. It does.
It really, really does. So those are my 3 goals. And I made my final this year, so that's the first time I did that. And yeah, I've been playing in Masters, been playing a little bit of everything. Online, I would say present, but not prevalent. I think that's a fair assessment. I watch a lot of the games online. I'm in a lot of the leagues. Been in PL. I'm in PCL now. Did the MLC tournament for champs. Made the semis for that. Won a King Tank tournament a long time ago. So it's a little bit of everything, but I would say most of my focus is in the in-person space over the board.
And that kind of gives you a unique perspective, being primarily in the over-the-board scene, but still being familiar with everyone online, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was really tough. I didn't look for an exact number this year because this year was just kind of a cluster.
It's somewhere around 50, right?
Yeah. Well, when I went last year, so not this past year, but the year before, we had 120 people,
Right.
and I knew exactly 61, like face to name. I knew 61 people, and I thought that was really cool. That it took me 5 years or 4 years, whatever it was, but knew half the field, and it was, I would say, 50-50 of the 50% I knew of online versus in-person players. So it is definitely, the online scene is creeping up. There was maybe 10 of us that first year, 15 maybe, and it's just, man, it has exploded.
I'm curious on your perspective because this was a question I asked everyone else. How do you approach the games differently when you know the players versus you don't, when you're sitting either initially at the table or during the course of the game?
I think the easiest way for me to sum that up is each interaction. I don't want to sound like I'm always calculating, but each interaction is tailored to the person.
Yes.
There are people that I've played with either in person or online that will respond well if you work well with them at the table, and like do trades and back and forth. There are people who will just rep block, whether they're your friends or like rep block you because they know you're good or know you're easy to control or emote, make a moat. I think it really depends on which person you're at a table with. Perfect
Yeah.
example, my round 2 game this year was with uh, 2 guys from the NYC group, Tony
Tony
and
and Tyler.
Squash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Dinesh from Seattle. So of course the Seattle guy
PNW.
won. Yeah, of course he won.
I heard
Because
about that
I
game.
very early it was like steamroll. I have no idea how I lost that game. Well, I do. I was robbed 24 times to their combined total 3 robs, and 2 of them were my rob.
Tony
So
told me like you took a really big lead and they had to just 3v1 you.
yeah.
It's
So in that kind of situation, there's not much that I can do. Towards the end of the game, I think Tyler should have switched the focus away from Dinesh a little bit. But even then, if he did for even a second, I could have won with 1 or 2 rolls. So it really depends on who you're playing. In that situation, it's a little tough, especially if you get that far ahead. But I've been in games the year before. I was in a game with Alec and Trevor, Papa Sturdy, and we worked decently well together. But I realized that I needed a little bit more oomph, so I worked with the third guy, exactly like the Dinesh was at our table, the guy who we didn't know, and I almost demonized Alec and Trevor, but not in a like an over. I don't know if you remember the Nationals with Eric Freeman and Stephen Gurner Goldman and Jeremy. Stephen mentioned a non-block to Jeremy, and Eric was just like, "Whoa, did you hear that? Did you hear the way he said that to you? Like, should we be doing that with each other?" And just like a little bit of manipulation there. So
edging
there's
the
that
table
scenario.
on.
Yeah, but then there's also times where it's a very normal game and you just hit the leader. But I will also always be aware of if I'm at a table with a killer or even 1 or 2 killers. I have a theory that I think has held up well, and I think he, feet to the fire, would agree with it and hold to it. And the same thing with Jack. If you balance a game all the way through, and you balance, and you change the balancing, at the end of the game, the person who has the stronger fundamentals is going to win.
Yes.
And
100%.
and I am a really good player. I think I've had good success. But as my placements showed in finals, I am not. I can fully admit when I'm not prepped the way I should be. Didn't feel prepped this year going in, and there are times where you have to hit a leader or someone, and they may call it rep blocking, but you have to hit them anyway because if they get balanced into the game, they're going to win.
Yes.
I don't need to even say names of Jack and Drew and all these people, but the people who, if you let in for a second, even early game, and you keep them balanced, they will win. And I have been in enough games. The flip side of that is I was just in a King of Catan tournament semifinal where I thought the bot was Drew, and I initially said we shouldn't trade with him. I ended on 4 points. So
Yep.
you get scorched earth. You can get scorched earth. Now that game I didn't roll any 5, so that's a different story. But I'm getting off topic. I as far as working with people at the table, I think the easiest answer, I could talk for hours on this. Easiest answer is you have to tailor each interaction depending on who your friend is or the person you know. I think doing anything less than that, you're not fully engaged in the social aspect of the game.
No, absolutely. One thing that I told Drew that I don't know if this is really talked about, but we kind of like went over it in detail like over the course of a week, and then he ended up using it in a TSI class where I talked about if I can play to the left of who I deem the strongest player on the table, I will intentionally do that, even if I gauge the position to be weaker. Um,
Yeah.
whether, getting
Just so, like, if you get a 7, you can block the stronger player for longer.
correct.
Yeah.
That and also, like, you can make better trades. If you have a knight, you play right after them. There's a few different advantages to playing immediately after.
Yeah, when you're right next to someone, it actually works both ways, because when they need a trade, you have the most cards you're ever going to have, except for when it's on your turn.
Yes.
If you have 6 cards in the beginning of your card every turn, so you have 6 now versus 7 the next turn, if on average. And then they are also the most desperate to do something on their own turn.
Yes.
It's really hard to get in like an equivocal trade with someone across from you. Just generally speaking, you might, but yeah, I agree. It's definitely more rare.
Yep. Another thing that I found pretty effective, and this is probably more of only applicable toward nationals or really toward a stronger over the board table, is I've noticed that I play or win more, or play better with weaker setups where you can collectively get one other person to work against the setup that is deemed the strongest. It's
Yeah, I think there's definitely merit to that. I mean, I think we see that a lot online, where like, all right, who's playing road, who's playing army, and generally, if there's not 2 people doing each, it's going to be an unbalanced game. It's going to be over quick.
yes.
But I 100% agree with that, and I think one of the things it's actually, if you take a more under the radar setup, it's easier to fight for that position. I mean, I went into both the final and the semifinal wanting to play not necessarily from behind, but like play more of an under the radar setup, just because I knew the people I was playing.
Yeah.
And it worked for the most part for the tournament. But I didn't want to play as far behind or as far under the radar, so we had
Sure.
final.
No.
But I mean, sometimes the dice come into play. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's a really interesting take.
What position, well, this is more of just a general question. What position
Yeah.
do you prefer the most? Like, if you were given a choice, you don't know what the board is, but let's just say the person says, do you want first, second, third, fourth? What do you generally answer with?
So I think that's a good question. I think it depends on where I am. I think if I'm at a friend's house or if I'm at a local qualifier, I'm gonna say first 90% of the time.
Yes, and that's because you want to play devs, I assume.
Partially because I want to play devs, partially because I like to have the last say on the board and the first say on the board. I like to kind of willful have that decision making. But another, like, if you get a really great spot and they work really well to coordinate against you, it actually sometimes can work against their favor. Because
Yes.
I was in a position where I got a 659 or 859, I can't remember which it was, and they coordinated so I didn't get exactly what I wanted. And it turned into that I was no longer the lead player, even based on the first setup.
Sure.
And I was able to take a more flexible, a little unorthodox setup and be able to make that work. But generally, I will say I like going first just because I like having that last say and the first say. The other is very small mathematical difference, but there is a small mathematical difference. Let's say it's a 40 turn game. You win on your 41st turn that no one else got. Yeah. So technically, you got one extra turn than anyone else. I know that's a very, very small, minute detail, but if I'm at home, I that's why I like going first. We actually don't even do choices when we play with a couple of our friends. We just roll for highest, and highest goes first.
Yeah, that's how we typically do it. We roll.
Yeah, I think that's what most people do. That said, in nationals, it's almost the exact opposite.
I was about to say that I don't know if anybody else has vocalized this, but me and ABH say that third is the best pick overall, which is not what the data supports.
But third and fourth are generally, I mean, we'll see, I guess, after this nationals, but when Stephanie and Morgan and whoever else, Donna, go to create the boards, they have vocalized this, that they actively do not want positions where fourth doesn't get anything.
Yes.
So
I feel like
if they're actively trying to make a board where fourth doesn't get stuck with nothing, just by the nature of that, third and fourth are best. Sometimes they'll miss a spot. It'll be like a double or wheat spot, and then there'll be like weak wheat everywhere else, and it's an isolated. Like I'm thinking of the first board last year, with that or wheat up in the right corner of round one.
2024.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
that
thinking of
was
that
an
board. And
insane first pick.
they tried to make that a balanced board, but just by the nature of where they isolated, it turned not into one. And if you look at the board, you could actually forgive them, because if you're not in the weeds of a competitive game, you look for, as far as production. Oh, there's multiple like good production spots that kind of go together. But after spots 1 and 2 that are really synergistic, third and fourth got nothing. So actually, in that game, Ian and I had to work really well together. Ian Pfeffer. How do I say this? Pfeffer?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, Ian. Whatever. We had to work together really well to coordinate that fourth spot. And I would say more than most other tournaments, I don't do that at nationals. I don't feel like I need to super hard do that. Partially, I'm glad I don't need to because of timing. But I know that is an active thought in their mind when they're making the boards, is to try to make it more balanced. So yes. I would say anywhere but nationals, I would say I want to go first. I think at nationals, third and fourth is what I prefer.
Absolutely. No, I remember that round one so distinctly because I played against Papa Sturdy, and he lost the game holding Army and Road. Do you know how often that happens where you hold both conditions and lose?
Yeah.
I won his third pick with I think 3 VPs. It was it's very chaotic.
I mean, VPs sometimes you need that luck. We ended up losing to Brian Kelly C. But what should have been a game where we ended on 5 points each, we scratched and clawed, and we were able to get to 7, which then led to 10-10-9 to get to 7. So like sometimes you, even if you don't necessarily want to like coordinate these spots, in order to get to minimum 7 or 8 points, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So
yeah, I tried to vocalize that this year in my round 2 game, to where I was telling the table like, we're out of this unless we get 7 or 8 points. But that we just got so much variance that I think we ended the game at 10-6-6-5 or 10-6-6-4 or something like that. It was
who won that one?
Yeah. But
who won that one?
I think Angela Lau.
Angela
Lau. I have never beaten either of the, or I've actually, there you go. I've never beaten any of the Lau sisters in all of the games we played. Because I think we played a game with one of them, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, you did last year, or oh my gosh, 2023. I'm getting all these games mixed up. It was 2023.
Was she in the game with you, me, and Nabil?
Yes.
I don't remember who she was. I just remember
someone sitting to your left. Yeah. Or you're right.
I remember you because I knew you, and I remember Nabil because I'd played, or I hadn't. Forever that game will cement in my history our frenemy.
Yes. And I played that game so terribly when I looked back at it. And the other thing that I distinctly remember is I kept getting irritated because she would hold the dev cards in a way that I didn't like, and I kept reminding her, and I'm like, hey.
There's I mean, over the years, there are some times where you just have to like either roll your eyes at it or just like not take it to heart. But I've been to enough nationals. I've seen enough people do enough weird things with the way they hold their cards, with the way they do dev cards, the way they try to do things on the turns. And I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not trying to sneak extra cards or trying to sneak like what they have available. So if you ever play, for the last at least 3 or 4 years, you ever play a game with me, pretty much to the letter of every single law, I will call judge over for every every missed 7, everything. I just don't want it ever to be someone think that I'm not calling because I like someone versus not. So I try to do that. And when it comes to like devs on table, actually, I know she didn't do it on purpose, but I was super rusty. This was 2 years ago. This is the only time I didn't make semis.
I remember this particular sequence. You did a trade because she stacked the devs.
She stacked the devs. I did not do my due diligence to see how many devs she had. I looked quickly on the board and said, oh yeah, if I trade this, I guarantee win. I won't 7 out. I didn't do my due diligence to see that she had the extra one. And not on even that, regardless, I had forgotten that I had set on a 3-1 port the turn before.
Yep.
So, like, even if I 7, I have a very good chance of winning anyway. Like, it's those very small mistakes of getting comfortable that since I hadn't played in a tournament in over a year, that's what got me that year. Yep. And we'll forever always remember the one time I didn't make semis is because I got comfortable. And
well, that
you lost
and
game
one. That and I kind of killed your game in the following.
No. I mean, even going into round 4, I still had a chance to make it.
Yeah.
Because I won. I finished on 9, then got 9, then I won game 2. So or maybe 8-9. Yeah, it was 8-9.
I think you got 8 in our game, if I'm not.
Yeah,
wrong.
I think because I flipped for Army, so I would have gone to 10. So it was 8-9 win. So I had a chance to make semis, but
you needed a win. Yeah,
I needed a win, and not only that, the reason my goal is always my first goal when going to nationals, goal number 1 is always win game 1, is because of Amanda Poole. Like you need them, like you don't need it, but getting the momentum coming out of round 1 is such a different vibe. So
yeah,
I guess that's been the biggest takeaway I've had over the last few years is you really gotta, as best you can. Obviously, you can't control some things. Like I couldn't control that board 1 last year where it was that isolated ore. But if coming out of round 1 with a win is huge. Yeah.
I'm curious from an organizer POV. Are there any rules that are still implemented that you would change? And I'm glad this didn't come up, but I hate the cock die rule. And thankfully,
that's my number 1 rule.
Yep, and every game I played, we all agreed to just re-roll both dice, and nobody said anything. Yep. But in 2023, my first game, there was a turn where the robber was not on me, and the guy rolled it, and they're like, "Oh, cocked." And then he re-rolled, rolled a 7. I lost cards, and then I got solo blocked. When the first roll that he did would have given me cards. So it turned into get cards into 7 out block.
Yeah. So when I host my tournaments, I say from the get-go, I say, the reason I'm going through all of the rules, explaining all the tournament rules, number 1, because a lot of you haven't been here recently, but number 2, I want whoever wins this tournament to best represent New York so they are ready for the rules. I say, and then I get to that, and I'm like, with the exception of the cock dice rule, this is the only rule that I fully disagree with. And I even say, I was like, you guys are adults. Look at the dice. If it's a 7, it's a 7. If it cannot be anything but a 7, it's a 7. If it's fully cocked on the side, reroll the dice. If it looks like it's about to fall over, reroll the dice. If it's half on something, reroll the dice. If dice falls on the table, reroll the dice. But I generally go with, you guys are adults. Figure it out yourself. If I come over, I will tell you 99% of what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you to reroll. You guys can figure it out. You guys are adults. But if I have to get called over, unless I look at it and it is like, cannot be anything but a 6, I'm going to make you re-roll the dice. So you just may as well re-roll the dice anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take on it.
No, absolutely. It's one of those rules that I just don't like. It gives the power to the player, right?
Yeah. No, but as far as the rest of the other rules, I think a lot of them have been around for a while. I thought of a few different hacks this past year. I was actually multiple in the game with Rory. So I don't know. Did you get to talk to Rory at all, really?
No.
Rory, yeah. So Rory, shout out to Rory from New York. before going into nationals, when I saw him multiple times play in the New York scene and a couple local other tournaments before he qualified, Drew and I were talking. We did that podcast like pre-nationals of like who are we looking at, and for an over the board player, like we got to over the board people. And actually, funny, I went back afterwards and I told him, I was like, I wanted to see how far back into the names of over the board players it was before we got to Barack.
Yeah.
The first one I said. So that is a sign that Barack is universally respected from the get-go, even before he won. But I was telling Drew, I was like, low-key, Rory O'Reilly is the real deal. He is one of the best up-and-comers I've seen. And the only person that beat him this year was me, and I beat him twice.
There you
I
go.
beat him in round 3. And both times, it was weird circumstances. I got to say, like, every other nationals I've been up afterwards, have been energized. This one was just a slog. It was... Players are getting good. Players are getting feisty. The weekend is long. It's a... Every other year, I've had rounds where I'm just, like, dominating. And it, like, hypes me up for the next one. This was the scrappiest I've ever been, and I'm like still mentally exhausted from nationals.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you rewatch the final, you saw how scrappy that was for me. That was, ugh. But I was playing with Rory, and 2 random rules things. We did a mutually beneficial king making in round 3, to where if I agreed not to buy a dev and not go for army, he would lose on 9.
Yep.
And because I buy 1 dev and I had 2 devs in hand, I take army from him, put him down to 6 points.
Yep.
And so we make an initial trade that he loses, but with army, so he has 8. And then I had to get another trade from him at 1 point. So he's like, okay, but now I lose on 9. I said, sure. And we agree. And then we had to do that. But it actually ended up being fully above the board in the end, because he traded me a city because the girl had bought 2 more devs and she was about to take army from Rory. And Rory couldn't win. So he traded me a city for like a road or something. So that was one thing. And the other game, he actually had game in the semifinal. And he ran out of time because of clock management. If he had settled the wheat port first, which was weird because there's a 12 desert, he didn't even think about settling that first. He's like, it's less production. But if he settles the 12 desert first, his hand ended up being leftover wood, sheep, 3 wheat.
Yeah.
So he would have had the other settle to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I was playing a game with Rory, and there was a critical moment where she was going to take road from me. She built the road the wrong way. And they were trying to convince her to move her road before she did anything else. And I asked her for a trade.
Yeah.
And I started a conversation with her. I'm like, so what do you need? She's like, well, I need brick. Do you have brick for wheat? I was like, no, I'm good. And then they told her to move her road. She tried to move her road. I said, nope, you instigated a trade.
Mm-hmm.
You took an action. Your road is set.
Oof.
So it capped her road length. And I saw exactly the writing on the wall. But there was like 3 or 4 moments where I don't want to say I manipulated the rules, but I played to the rules. And that's, I think, why I am so much more a repeat name in person, is because I know these rules better than anybody else.
Yeah, it's not like online where it does it automatically.
No.
That
No,
experience.
it's not that it does it automatically. And yeah, and you'll hear me. I very much like the recent move that a lot of these online servers are going towards national rules, because it's just more of a balanced game. The 18 card insurance trades are too much for my blood. So I am very much more of a proponent of the nationals rules for the most part. There are some that I don't.
think so too, and they were initially invented as ways to min-max your turns, but there's certain games where you're just sitting there for 2 minutes while 2 guys try to figure out how to give each other insurance, and it's just like,
Yeah. And like my biggest thing, and when I was on Vamos and Donnie's podcast either last year or the year before, they said, what's your driving factor, your biggest reason why you don't like extortion and insurance? I was like, extortion I'm actually okay with. I'm generally okay with extortion. I don't think you should give into it all the time. And I think you should normalize non-binding sometimes. Like if the occasion calls for it, you know this. But I think I was like, but with insurance to get the exact free cards back, I think it mitigates a essential component of the game. If your game style is to be inefficient with your cards and hoard a bunch of cards and use a 3-to-1 port or something like that, that's fine. That's a strategy. I do it all the time. I think most people have that position because more cards is better. Production is king. But with that comes the risk of 7ing out.
Yes.
So if you mitigate that risk every single time for one person to get one card, and then the leader is left with 12 cards in their hand after you trade back, it's not a reward for you in the end.
And I would argue that it's basically breaking the rules of trading free cards. And people are like, no, but it's. I mean, you run into the risk of people scamming you, but Catan is also a game where if you get burnt socially, it's almost a disadvantage than getting 5 extra cards. It's
I am a firm proponent of 85 to 90% honesty when I play.
Yep.
When it comes to, that is my firm number. When it comes to devs, and actually I have a tell. I'm working on it this next year. I'm actually going to work on it. But Squash picked up on my tell. If I'm getting angry at you talking about my devs, I'm not lying about my devs. I'm being 100% honest with my devs. I'm like, no, this is a knight. Because I emote too much there. But if I'm playing aloof and like nonchalant, like Drew, when he says, you'll see. His same response every single time. And I got to say, that man's consistency is always impressive to me. There are some people who are very consistent in the way they play. Drew, Griffin, Bo, and just like Jack, not as much I think as those other guys, but they're just very consistent in the things they say and the way they do that they do. And I think that's a big area that I need to improve is my dev card revealing information. Sometimes I like to reveal the information, but I think I give away too much often. Yeah. So that's the two things that I'm going to work on this off season is my dev card revealing information, just so I can not get mad if I'm telling the truth or not get mad if I'm telling a lie. But then I think the number 2 thing, a little more important in my game, is placements. Just because I think I had the 3rd best setup or 4th best setup in that final, if I'm being generous. So I think placements is a big thing, and that just comes from reps. It really does. Because I had some logic behind it, but still not as good as the other places.
No, absolutely. I guess for my final question, word of advice that you would give new players or people that are just looking at the game for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see behind me, I'm obsessed with the game. I've been obsessed with the game. But more than anything, not to get sappy, but there's such a community, whether it's online, and you'll run into trolls. You run into trolls at any game you play online. You run into some trolls.
Yep.
But for the most part, the people that I have met either online or in person at these tournaments have literally changed my life. So I live in Jersey now, but I'm from Arizona.
Yeah.
It started with playing this game at home that one of my Mormon friends brought over. And we got obsessed with it and played it for hours at a time, over and over and over. And it really cemented my post-high school friend group, which has really made a huge impact on me for the long term in my life. Fast forward to moving across the country, the only people I know are my in-laws. I don't have a lot of friends here, and you're only semi-friends with people you work with.
Sure.
And I decided I need a little more social circle, so I go to the tournament. And not only do I meet lifelong friends at that first one, at every subsequent tournament I go to, I'm growing my circle of people that I care about, that care about the game, and have this weirdly strong, unique passion for this one very specific thing.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to be in a place with so many people who have that very strong passion for this very unique thing. And I know it's been a sentiment that's been mirrored by everyone, but it's like homecoming every time you get to go home, good to go and see people at nationals or regionals. We get at ours, we get a little bit of a taste of it in New York because we
Right.
have up to 100 people, so we get a little taste of it there. But yeah, I think this the cool thing with this game and going to tournaments is you get what you put in. And if you go to these tournaments and you make an effort to meet people and learn people's names, it's going to reward you tenfold in the back end just from social connections. I have a lot of people that I consider some of my best friends now are from this game, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have ever had it if it wasn't for Klaus Teuber.
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate that, and no, it's really good. I'm looking forward to possibly playing with you in the future. It's a new
Yeah,
regional format.
I mean, I'm playing, I think, my first qualifier back next weekend if I can get away from uh, wife, baby, and 8-year-old,
For sure.
which is so. A couple people have reached out and asked if I was going to play in Boston, so I signed up. But I was like, honestly, guys, until you see me show up, I'm 50-50.
Yep.
Like, I have no idea. It's just because it's like a 5-hour drive. So I'll play in that one, and I'll play in a couple other locals. But unless I get my mojo back, and I probably will, literally sitting down at game one. That I know myself, I'll probably get it back at game one. I will. I was planning on taking a little step back this year, just because there's an extra trip, and I like what CS is trying to do, big picture wise. I think in the interim, in the immediate, it does. I don't want to. I mean, I trust Donna. I trust Stephanie. I know what they're trying to do. I'm going to give them grace until I see it, obviously, and not that it matters if I give them grace because my opinion doesn't really
Sure.
matter,
Sure.
like individual, because they're gonna do what they want anyway. But like, I'm gonna have faith that it's gonna be cool, but that the adding an extra level of a trip is going to be a detriment for a lot of people, like just financially and just time wise, and then also having a much less player pool at nationals is going to make it feel less of a homecoming too. So that I think that feeling is going to migrate over to Masters. Where are
Yeah.
you on your Masters points?
3. I don't think I'll get picked.
You never know, man. So there's some theories that not as many people are going to be playing this year because of the regional format.
Yeah.
So
I would believe that.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, I think the idea of it is daunting. Like going to multiple. Now, Masters, I think is going to be filled to the brim. I truly do, unless there's people like that are holding out on principle or whatever. But I think that's so stupid. But more power to them. Like, sure, don't show up. Less people for me to play. No, but that should be fun. So at minimum, if they get down to 3s, then I'll see you there.
Okay. Hey, that sounds good, brother.
We'll email Stephanie, see if I can give you one of my points.
Yeah. Transfer some points over. I'd love to buy them. Well,
As
hey.
as long as it's 5 or 6, I'm good.
Yeah. Take you under. Don't sub
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. No, I think I'm at 10 right now.
Wow.
Either 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have four semis, 4 nationals. No, 4 semis,
table.
5 nationals, and 2. And now I might even have more.
Yeah, final table gives you an extra point, I think.
Yeah, and then I have 2 top 4 masters. So.
Oh yeah.
I got a lot of it. Been playing for a while. Well, I'm sorry that as Drew is my witness, I go like this with rabbit holes when I talk about Catan. So
no, you're good, brother. I really do appreciate your time. I had a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah,
well,
man.
If there's anything else you need from me, let me know. Otherwise,
hey, I'll catch you on the flip side. Good luck at your next event.
thank you, sir.
Take care, my friend.